Hellblade Senua Sacrifice is the brand new game from Ninja Theory, who got a reputation of making some great style backdoor fighters such as Enslaved, Journey to the West, and of course DMC, A Devil May Cry. And here we are now, 5 years after the fact of DMC, with them brand new game, which honestly break the norm for them in a lot of ways here. And of course, the one thing you will pick up pretty much right away when you start Hellblade is this is not a normal tale that we are used to in a lot of video games at that moment. This game dives heavily into the psyche of a disturbed individual as they are dealing with their own demons, with the demon that brought upon them by other people and other things, are wrapped in a little bubble of Norse mythology here. And I'm not gonna go too far into the story other than that, because this is a game that the less you know about the story and the less you know about how certain characters are handled, the more intriguing the game is as a whole. But I will say, with it being a very difficult subject matter that Ninja Theory are diving into, they handled it with the most up respect, and in return made the character someone who is weak on so many levels but so strong by just going through what they need to go through to actually make it to the end. Detail here is honestly surprising, but then again, after you beat the game you will unlock a pretty lengthy little documentary behind the ideal of the game, not so much on a game design level but more on the mental issue that the game tried to tackle and how well they looked into the actual thing of psyche here and made something that for the most part channel into what the diagnosis truly is in lots of ways, which honestly is the intro of the game, with the full note in the credit being the therapist and the people they looked into to get more information about the subject matter. If that's not a giveaway, honestly I don't know what is. But on to the gameplay here. The gameplay itself is honestly not in a bad way, but pretty much a glorified walking simulator here. Don't get me wrong, there was some combat in there. It only happens a few times throughout the game, and the game honestly on the combat level just keep ramping up the combat, not so much on skill but more just along the lines of throwing more and more enemies at you with only a handful of enemies there to actually fight against, which it kind of deep down is kind of the letdown here. Not so much the combat itself, but just when you do it, how tedious it can actually become, with a few exceptions, mainly the boss battles here. But on the level of the actual combat itself though, it pretty much made up of a heavy, a light, a kick, and then a parry and a block and a dodge. And as you go along, you will get other powers such as focusing to break through pretty much the shields that a lot of enemies have, and also give you a slowdown effect that actually will help you handle some of the bigger groups of enemy, as well as get your health back on top of that. And honestly, that is about it for the combat, and no real upgrade, no weapon to be speaked here. The only upgrades you get is just given to you for story reasons. Because of that, it gets the job done. But like I said, just how combat is handled overall outside the bosses, really not many of the combat scenario is actually enjoyment. It just went and repeat. Any of the combat on the simpler level is entertaining and actually have some room for combos and tying together certain enemies and actions that actually make it satisfying. But honestly, it is the weaker part of the game. Any if it is hit the bare minimum needed here. And then of course we move on to the part of the game outside of combat, which is what the majority of the game is, which is of course diving into the main character head and dealing with all demons along the lines of solving puzzles, just trying to find your way to a environment and hunting down hidden items throughout through the whole game here, of which will give you more backstory in the lore of the Norse mythology, and every once in a while dive into pretty much the story that one parallel with the main plot here. But on the other hand here, this is where we get a little more repetitiveness, which it made up of some of the puzzle. Mainly the puzzle that involve you having to go through the environment, finding random symbols and matching them up to symbols that you find on doors to unlock into the next area. It's one of them things that get kind of repetitive pretty quickly, and any if later on in the game they start throwing more and more mechanic on top of it, such as playing with spectrums and trying to pretty much solve riddle within the level itself. Might it be looking for clue to rebuild certain object, going into pretty much invisible walls that you can only see an asset by doing certain things, and of course fading in between time zone, future, and past. Anyway, all that thrown up on top of it, some of the puzzles are actually quite nice. There is only so much you can cover up the bait mechanic of finding random symbols, matching them up, and going through a door. So Hellblade honestly is a lot of rough edges, but at the same time the game only costs, at the time of the recording, $29.99, which in return make it a little more bearable. And then on top of that, the game only being roughly about 6 to 7 hours long, and then throw in about the 30-40 minute documentary on top of that, and it's a lot to enjoy. It's a lot of subject matter here that truly gonna get you thinking. Honestly, the best part of Hellblade have to be the audio design here. It is heavily recommended to play it with headphones because the audio is fantastic with the way they handle the three-dimensional fate of audio. Well, sometimes you feel people talking to you constantly in the game, either from either side of you, far off, screaming, just how the environment sounds. It's honestly a showpiece for how audio can be done here, and not any counting throwing up on top of that how well acted the main character is and the animation, and as well as throwing in a live action video mixed into the game. Not all of it for great, but most of it is pretty damn well done and truly just add to the level of the insanity that is happening in front of you. So overall, Hellblade Senua Sacrifice, I give it 4 out of 5.
I hear her thoughts. It's not too late to get into the boat and go back. No one will judge her. No one will ever know. Oh, she heard us. There's no going back.